So the War of 1812. Quickly, we're going to move out of Thomas Jefferson's presidency and we're moving forward to James Madison and some conflicts between Native Americans, the British, and the Americans. And what you'll see, the big thing here with the War of 1812 is it's a border dispute over current day Ohio and the Canadian border with current day Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin. And the British were friends with the Native Americans. And of course, as you know, westward expansion, who loses but Native Americans? The British were trying to defend them. So, the British start to capture American sailors and then press them. It's called impressment. Make them fight for them in wars. So there's a border dispute, as you see here. They start taking and capturing our sailors and making them fight for the British. Economy, really bad economy. They also started an embargo, a trade embargo, and then they started to blockade the ability for the Americans to ship in the Great Lakes. Tecumseh and Native Americans unify against the Americans, and they start to have the British back. Once again, if you have a problem with any slides, you are able to stop the video, take the notes. Quiz will be on Friday on westward expansion, Lewis and Clark expedition, and War of 1812. So there's war hawks in Congress. They want to fight with the British. They want to remove the Native Americans, and they want to dominate all of the western frontier, which at this point in time would have been like Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, over to the Mississippi River. War of 1812 has two different phases. First one is going to be Britain is also at war with France. They were at war with France for centuries. Okay, that's still it's a bitter rivalry. Okay, so you're going to have a naval battle. You're going to have the USS Constitution and the USS United States. They are going to be able to defeat the British. Now, if you rewind back to 1775, 1776, all the way to 1781, did the United States of America have a navy? No, they didn't. Who was our navy then? Okay, the navy then was France. Well, we've had some conflict with France between here and there, between 1775 and 1812. So now we have to have our own navy. So we start to have naval battles, major battles. Old Ironsides. Was it literally iron? No. It had large planks. The USS Constitution defeats some of these are all in the Great Lakes. A lot of these battles are in the Great Lakes. Okay. The U.S. is able to defeat the British on the open seas in the Atlantic and on the Great Lakes. Real quick, Paul Revere, he was responsible for putting the hardware, the spikes to keep Old Ironside 7-inch planks intact. The ship was the timbers were so thick that cannonballs used to bounce off of them. Battle of Lake Erie. Now this one matters to you because you live on Lake Erie. Okay, and this is Oliver Hazard Perry. Oliver Hazard Perry broke the blockade where the British were stopping products from moving from north to south through Lake Erie. How did he do it? Okay, he is on his ship commanding, and his ship is sunk, by a cannon fire. He gets in the life raft. Would have been a boat then, a wooden-sided boat. He rows half a mile through a naval battle to the Niagara, where he continued to fight and defeat the British and break the British blockade. This guy, if you go to Put-in-Bay, South Bass Island, There is an international peace monument that is dedicated to Perry, Oliver Hazard Perry. Quite the middle name Hazard. He cements himself as one of the legends in American history. He did something most people get in the lifeboat and they rowed ashore. This guy did the opposite. He rowed through hostile waters. There's cannonballs flying everywhere, ships ramming one another, just madness going on. And he commands the rest of the battle. So Oliver Hazard Perry breaks the British blockade. We have met the enemy and they are ours. And that is a picture of him rowing to the USS Niagara. With control of Lake Erie, you have control of all the Great Lakes. Obviously, there's large cities that are just starting to spring up. Fort Detroit, Cleveland, they are starting to spring up early 1800s. Okay, so now you're able to ship goods, services, troops. That's a big part of it. Next, there's an attack on Washington, D.C. Okay, if you've ever seen and heard of August 1814, the British, 6,000 British troops, burned the White House to the ground. And they burned the White House, they burned the Capitol, the Library of Congress, okay? They burned a bunch of stuff to the ground. Now, they were unable to burn certain things because Dolly Madison, First Lady, was able to remove paintings of George Washington and certain artifacts before they were able to burn the White House to the ground. Okay? What is going to save Washington, D.C. from being completely destroyed by the British? A hurricane. Natural, an act of God, some people might say, in August. Okay? Then your Star-Spangled Banner was written by Francis Scott Key on the bombardment of Fort McHenry, which is near Baltimore. And this is the turning point of the war where the Americans are able to defeat the British, and it turns the tide of the War of 1812. Okay, this is the Star-Spangled Banner that flew over Fort McHenry in September of 1814. That is where the United States national anthem comes from. Francis Scott Key wrote this, watching the bombardment from a prison ship in Baltimore Harbor. Okay, this is a painting and depiction of the 24-hour bombardment. Now, 1815, January 5th, 1815, Andrew Jackson, who you're going to later be learning about with Jacksonian Democracy, there he is right there commanding the battle. I'm sure that's exactly what it looked like. If you believe that, I have some oceanfront property in Arizona. Folks, you don't have to believe every painting, every depiction that you see. I'm guessing he wasn't commanding the battle like that. But he's able to defeat the British in the Battle of New Orleans. Craziest thing about it is they had already negotiated the Treaty of Ghent. They fought this battle. And, this is like Marbury versus Madison, right? This is, these are these court cases that take a while. Information travels so slowly. Same thing happened with the Battle of New Orleans. It's fought after the war is over. Okay? And Andrew Jackson had just under 15,000 troops. They're going to fight down in Louisiana in the south on the Gulf of Mexico. And the United States is able to run them out and defeat them. Okay? Andrew Jackson, he becomes legendary. This is where he becomes very popular. And if you look, a lot of the popularity that gains him the ability to win the presidency comes from this. He's a war hero. They're able to defeat, and as you can see, I'm guessing this isn't how this went down. Okay, the Battle of New Orleans. Right? It is after the war is fought. After the war is won by the Americans already. Well, nobody really won. What happens is we didn't lose any territory. Okay, so that's going to talk about the results of the war. We'll talk about that right now. Okay. We're going to end up leaving Canada alone, which is still how it is today. All right. British decided that they would no longer be allies with the Native Americans, okay, we would not lose any territory and gain control of the Great Lakes. Well, if you gain control of the Great Lakes, Erie, which is the one that matters to you, you can ship, send, receive goods. All right. Lots of positive results. America is recognized as a genuine superpower. Okay. A lot of people, if you look at the Star Spangled Banner came from the War of 1812 and Francis Scott Key and the bombardment of Fort McHenry in Baltimore. Andrew Jackson becomes a legend out of this. Oliver Hazard Perry becomes a legend out of this. Okay, so all different types of positive things and heroes are born in American history. Native Americans are even pushed further west as now their alliance with the British is over and the United States economy begins to boom. Quiz Friday. If you have any questions, stop and pause the video. Do what you got to do. Over and out. I will talk to you Friday, and your quiz will be on the classroom.